community, family, faith. This is the Reclaimed American Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Reclaimed American Podcast. Today, we've got Emily Ledoux on the line with us. Say hi, Emily.
Hey guys, how are you?
Emily, you live in Austin, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Emily's coming to us from Austin, and she's going to tell us all about herself right after the Baby T Chronicles update. So here we are on week 21. Do you remember when you were at 20? You said you've got 2 kids, right, Emily?
I do, I have 2. Mm-hmm.
And at your 21 week marks, do you remember any of those? And were you like over the morning sickness, or was it just like screwing with you through the whole thing?
So fortunately, I mean, both pregnancies, as far as morning sickness, were pretty, easy. I did have some morning sickness, but it was, I guess, maybe a little bit more torturous. I was never really relieved by actually getting to throw up. It was more just like nausea all the time unless I was eating. So I was pretty past it. I think I definitely got to the point where, I mean, I tell this to my friends, once you get past that morning sickness, food is so good.
Well, my wife has hit the craving stage, if you will. And as a result of that, sometimes she'll make something. She'll be like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. And then she makes it, she takes one bite, and she just drops the fork. She's like, that's not what I want. And it's been fun. Like I told you, before we started recording, this is our first pregnancy. And it's a learning experience. The first thing my dad told me after I told him that we were pregnant is he's like, all right, I'm going to give you one word of advice, one thing of advice, and that's to be patient and bite your tongue, because it's going to be a trying time. And so far it has.
It's good advice.
Exactly. So as far as how my wife's been doing this week, we did have one trip to the ER, but instead of for the panic attacks like we have been in the past, this was another trip for migraine headache that would not go away. And I know most people say, oh, just take Tylenol. That's about the only thing you can do is take Tylenol, drink plenty of water, sit in a dark, quiet room, and maybe use a cold compress or something on your head, and hopefully it'll go away. But when my wife gets these, they get so bad that they trigger her anxiety, and then it's just like the snowball effect. And so, yeah, we had to go to the ER one more time this week, and but right now, everything's good. We've got family coming on Thursday. Right now, she's actually talking to one of her aunts on, she uses WhatsApp, and they're from Costa Rica. So they'll be coming up from there. And right now, they're just chatting away. So I'm like, all right, cool. They're talking. I'm coming in here. We're doing the recording. But
awesome.
One of the cool things, I don't know if, when you were pregnant, of course, you go in for the ultrasounds, and they do the baby heart rate monitoring every time you went in for a checkup, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, they do that for us, but I found on Amazon they sell fetal heart rate monitors that you can buy and have one at the house. Connect it to your phone and record the heart rate. So we just got that in today, because a lot of times, because of her anxiety, she's always worried that, oh my God, is the baby okay? I don't know if the baby's okay. I haven't felt her move in like the last, I don't know how many hours or something. And so I looked at it as, on one side, this could be a really bad idea, because if she can't find the heart rate, because sometimes it's kind of tricky, that could be a bad thing. But also, if we do find it, then she can hear it and be like, all right, cool, everything's fine. Heart rate's moving like it should be, and she can calm down. So it's going to be a double-edged sword, so hopefully that works out well for us. But
I mean, technology is amazing.
It is.
You can do that.
And, well, the cool thing is, I didn't realize that I could hook it to my phone and record the sounds. Supposedly I can Bluetooth it to the phone, but I haven't figured out how to make that part work yet. In our house, we've got one of those NutriBullets with the Bluetooth weight sensor on it that you can hook up to your phone and put in whatever crap you want into it, and it'll tell you how much weight you've put into the cup. Well, when I open up the heart rate monitor app, I guess because the NutriBullet is always plugged in, when I hit the button to connect, it comes up with a NutriBullet. So I'm like, I don't think I want the NutriBullet to monitor the heart rate, you know?
Yeah, probably not.
So,
probably not a good idea.
Yeah. So anyways, so that's it for the Baby T update. Everything's going good at the moment. We've got our next appointment September 16th, and I believe that one is just another regular plain Jane checkup, but we're going from there. But anyway, so Emily, tell me about yourself.
Well, I am, as I've already stated, a mother of two, the local singer-songwriters, all the business owners. I'm one of those creative types. Since I was a kid, I've just been singing and expressing myself and drawing, and picked up my first camera when I was about 14 and became pretty obsessed with it. I loved that, you could capture one moment in time. And I really was just fascinated with more of I think the candid side of things, just kind of capturing people when they're off guard, when they're not paying attention.
Right.
I ended up going to college for photography, as well as I studied music when I was in college. And sort of just blossomed into just this deep, deep love. And, life sort of has its way of creating distractions, kind of going maybe different directions than you originally planned. I think we've all been there. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until last year, about the third quarter of last year, that I finally got the opportunity to go ahead and step out in faith and open my photography company. And it's been going really well. And I've gotten, to meet a lot of really cool people in the Austin area and connect with a lot of different organizations. So a little bit about me.
Right on. And so, as you just said, you opened up your own photography business, and that's what the Emmilou Photography is, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so where did the name Emmilou come from?
Okay. So it's very, 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 very near and dear to my heart. My grandfather on my mom's side, who was the pillar of our family, sadly he passed away beginning of last year, but he was just the pillar of our family. His name was Ira. He would always call me Emmilou. And, I remember when it was time to open this company, I just knew, the door was open, it was time. I was thinking, because that's also my local singer-songwriter name. That's what I perform under, is the name Emmilou. And I did that because it reminds me of my roots. So every time that I hear it, or every time I see it, it reminds me of him. And I had such a wonderful, he and my grandmother were such major players in my childhood. I attribute a lot of my best memories to just living with them. And that's where that name came from.
Right on. You said you've been doing the photography for about a year or so, but how long have you been doing the singing?
Well, photography in general, or?
No, the singing.
Oh, my goodness. Since I was a kid. This is really, I don't know if I should be saying this because people are listening, but I remember being 4. I think my family first figured out, this kid can sing. Mm-hmm. I was 4. And I remember being at the table with my grandparents. And all their friends were over. I think they were playing dominoes or something. And I remember sitting there and just busting out with a Randy Travis song. And everyone sort of stopped and looked at me like, what is with this? This kid is like seriously putting on a performance. And that's, I think, when everyone sort of realized it. And then I got my first guitar when I was 12, and I started writing music. Got my first, I kind of fluctuated between like a folk style, and then some of the other stuff I do is electronic. So, got the opportunity to work with some really great artists, multi-platinum artists when I was 17, and then it went from there. So I've been doing music for a long time.
Oh, right on. So I was going through your Facebook a little bit before the phone call, and I saw you've got an album coming up.
I do. I'm really excited about it. It's been a long time coming.
And is this your first album, or how many do you have out?
So this will be actually my first full-length album. So I've definitely released some content to multiple digital platforms. I mean, you know, everyone. I always say it's funny. It's available everywhere online, but most people just care about Spotify or iTunes, right? So,
gotcha.
I have some singles that I've released under the name Emmilou, Emmilou, and but yeah, this is my first full-length album, and it'll be releasing November 1st, and I'm really, really, really excited about it.
Awesome! Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So now, the thing that actually got us connected, though, is I was on, what is it, the Op Veteran page, and I saw something about you're doing like a photography essay kind of deal, or something along those lines with veterans. Could you tell me about that?
Absolutely. So yeah, Denny over at Op Veteran, like he's amazing. Like he's got such a servant's heart, and I love that he's a bridge builder. He and I connected over this project. I think that's how you and I got connected. But he basically, you know, we were talking, and he agreed with me that there's just a severe need for a spotlight to kind of be brought upon just veteran stories in general. And that was the whole purpose of this. I went to, you know, this has been something I've been wanting to do for probably about, my goodness, probably about, honestly, 8 or 9 months. This has been sort of stirring around in my heart, this idea to have an editorial project where, you know, I get some photographs of veterans that are willing to share their story, and then, you know, obviously write a bit about their story, and then release that. But it really started materializing back when, you know, a few weeks back, the Central Texas VA had in partnership with Samaritan Center, who I'm connected with, they had a community mental health summit on the Friday the 16th in August. And it was during that time that I realized, you know, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Mayor's Challenge, but basically Mayor Adler has this challenge going. Obviously, the goal is to decrease suicide among veterans. And the whole conversation was centered around, you know, how do you do that? How do you decrease suicide, right? How do you oppose that? How do you fight against it? And well, it's promoting life, right? I mean, it's one of the first things that we can do. One of the most effective things we can do is promote why life is worth living. Well, what better way to do that, right, than sharing your story? There's so much power. It's a very vulnerable thing to share your story, but there's so much power in being open and sharing your story. That's really what I love about Denny's heart as well. Is he's so open about everything he's come through, and is willing to help, you know, other veterans, and is helping other veterans with his story. And the veterans that I've been very privileged to interview and to speak with are all of the same mentality. It's better. We need to normalize sharing our stories and sharing our experiences in order to sort of bridge the gap and create a safe space for people that are undergoing trials, that are dealing with depression, PTSD, you know, whatever it is that they're dealing with. The more that we can all normalize that, hey, this is not abnormal for you to be dealing with this, but, you know, you're not alone, right? There's help available, there's resources available. That was all how this got started. It's just the goal of this project, for anyone listening, is to get veterans sort of, I want to be their mouthpiece, but I want to get them in the spotlight. And this particular editorial project is called Project 0 Hour. And for anyone that maybe isn't familiar with that term, it's kind of like this turning point, this moment of decision, right, where there's action needed to start a plan of some kind. And so all of us, you know, can have that moment, that turning point, that 0 hour where we go, you know what, maybe life felt like a death sentence. Maybe things have been really, really dark, but I can change course. It's not too late to change paths and actually build a life that I am fulfilled by, that I'm happy to live. And so that's the whole purpose of this editorial project, is to, again, bring attention to veterans that are either have already overcome that or are working to overcome the trials that they have gone through or are going through, and just kind of showcasing how are they doing that, most of the folks that I've been speaking with, the first steps they took was just serving, just volunteering is kind of how they began to pull themselves up out of that darkness. And I think the more that we can, again, I keep repeating myself, man, normalizing that the darkness, that you can climb out of it. That's the whole point of this editorial.
That's awesome. Have you ever listened to the Team Never Quit podcast?
I have not.
It's hosted by Marcus Luttrell and his brother. And one of the things that they've got is at the beginning of every episode, after they do their little intro spiel, they do a listener write-in story. And basically, yeah, it sounds somewhat similar, but you get these people that they tell their story of how they've been up against that wall, and they had to make that choice. Do they lead themselves out of the darkness, or do they just drop off? And they write in their stories, and some of them are they're tearjerkers. You hear it and you can feel the desperation in the words as how they wrote it, and it's amazing. And then they tell how hey, it was because of your podcast that I said, you know what, no, life is worth living, and it's just amazing. And I think what you're doing, this is also amazing. How many people have you been able to interview so far? I think about 9 or so. And I'm definitely, for this particular editorial, looking for I would say about 3 more. And then I'm going to be doing this is not the only one I'm doing. This is kind of just at the beginning. Probably once a month I'm going to have something released. And there'll be a different kind of focal point of each one. But, I love the fact that podcast exists. I just feel like there's so much room at the table for all of us to pull up a chair and have this discussion. And the more of us that are opening our mouth about it, and, veteran and civilian alike, the more that we can just bring attention to it, create space for people to say, hey, yeah, I needed that, or I'm suffering. I don't know how to get out of this, right? Right.
The better, the more people that we're going to impact, the more people that we're going to reach.
Yep. So with this project, you said you're looking for about 3 more people or so. And then are you just releasing it all in one big chunk, or are you, as you're doing these interviews with people, you're putting them out there already?
I originally was going to release it once a week through the month of September, but I decided, I'm going to release it in one chunk, and that way it has the entire month to basically be out there and for people to see it. I've been in touch with Mayor Adler's office. I know they want to feature it, as well as there's a couple other folks that may be pushing that article out to. And my hope is that it, can begin to circulate. I really want people to read these stories and be encouraged. Mm-hmm. And so anyone listening, if you want to help share it,
Gotcha.
That would be awesome.
Well, I'll definitely say that one of the things that I do is I invite all my guests to join my open Facebook page, but also the closed group.
Yeah.
And the idea is, as I get more and more guests, hopefully as they have awesome stories and the incredible projects such as yours that they're doing, and you want to get that word out to obviously you want to get it out to as many people as you can. Well, I'd like for my pages, my social media outlets, to also be a source for you to get that out to all of my listeners. So I definitely invite you to share what you can when you can on those pages. Okay. But so when do you expect that the project will be done and ready to be released?
Yeah, so this will be releasing no later than the beginning of next week, actually.
Oh, okay. Wow. So coming up quick.
Yeah, so it's right there. Yeah, it's right around the corner. And again, September is Suicide Prevention Month. Mm-hmm. So I felt that it was a really important time to go ahead and get this out there, since the focal point again is, hey, a lot of the folks that are being interviewed, they, like you said, they had their back against the wall, felt very disconnected. What I'm hearing a lot of, and I'm connected with a couple organizations and have been for a while, and I've heard this before, but it's just in these sort of interview environments, it's just so much more personal. And what I'm hearing is, when there's that transition from the military back into civilian life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for some, it's an immediate sense of loss, like a loss of identity, a loss of connection. But for some folks, it actually takes longer. It can be even a year or longer before that starts to set in. And so another hope with this project is that it can, again, bring attention to that and also bring attention to the individual organizations that are represented within the article itself, so that there are extra resources out there. Because, revisiting, again, that conference that I mentioned earlier, the summit, the big problem is we have all this territory to cover, so many people that need help, but we don't have a large enough or like a tight enough net. Does that make sense? There's not enough of a cohesive approach to reach people. Mm-hmm. And so there's kind of some gaps within that net. So we're like losing people. So my goal with this is that it could hopefully begin to sort of fill in some of those gaps and direct folks to the resources that are currently available, as well as maybe inspire people that maybe it's been on their heart to either get involved or maybe there's some sort of organization that they've been meaning to sort of just get started. Maybe this will be some fuel for that to get some inspiration out there so people can start to really, I think, live out their calling or like what they were created for,
Yes, absolutely. So again, I kind of missed the part though. Did you end up saying how you got connected to this, or have you not said that yet?
No. So I've always had extended family, lots of friends that are military or ex-military at this point. Grew up in El Paso, which is right next to Fort Bliss, so it's pretty heavy military culture there. Mm-hmm. And then growing up, here in Austin, actually, last year, was I think April 2018, I attended a training, a PTSD veteran-focused training at Samaritan Center. And I remember sitting there and just being like, you know what, I was aware of a lot of the statistics. I knew a lot of the numbers already, but something about it just pierced my heart, even deeper than already. I mean, that was already a cause that was close to my heart, but it just something about it. And when you hear 22 veterans a day, and that was the last time they took those numbers. I mean, that's not even necessarily an accurate number at this point. That's just kind of those are like the last statistics that were pulled. I just remember kind of being really brokenhearted by that during that training. That's how I got connected with Samaritan Center. And then the Samaritan Center, later, a few months later, I got connected with OSB. Are you familiar with OSB?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so Operation Supply Drop, and they are national. I mean, they are amazing. They'll send care packages to our active military. They will, they will do all kinds of wonderful things for active, as well as, veterans. And the chapter here in Central Texas, Scott Morrison, he's my contact there, and he's the one that I work with usually. And his heart is also so humble, and he also has an incredible story. He's actually one of the veterans participating in this project, so I'm excited for you guys to hear his story. Okay. But then he has connected me with a couple other folks. Warrior's Heart is one of them that I'm going to be including in the article. But that, I'm not even sure if I answered your question, but it's kind of how I got connected in the Austin, Texas area, sort of, veteran community, or like, I guess they call it like a patriot, community as well, just like in support of veterans. That
is awesome. So what, do you have any other, I know you're doing this, you said that you're hoping it'll be wrapped up within the next week or so. Between that, you're singing, do you have any other projects that you're working on?
It's so funny because I was really blessed to do an interview last week, mm-hmm. and the individual was like, do you even have time to breathe? And I didn't realize it. Like, I didn't realize it because people ask me, and I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? What am I doing? I have all kinds of projects going on right now, and obviously this project. I have a couple other veteran-based projects for my photography company lined up. Those I'm not quite announcing yet, but they're going to be coming down the pipeline here shortly. There's going to be a really great album release party happening when I'll give you the info
Right on.
when the album releases, and all the profits, all the earnings are going to be going to support the organizations that I'm involved with. And so there's that stuff going on. Other than that, I'm just momming really hard, growing my company,
there you go.
Volunteering. Yeah.
Very good. So with all of that being said, what are your future goals? I mean, what do you hope to? Are you hoping that you can get this become part of one of these organizations you're working with, or are you just trying to help share the message?
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I don't necessarily have any aspirations of getting on staff or anything like that. That's definitely not why I did it. Because I've been asked this question actually about 3 other times this week, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of like a dreamer, kind of one of these hopeful people. I remember, I mean, like I said, since I became connected with Samaritan Center, and I already knew the statistics, but seeing it on the screen in front of me was really sobering. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm doing this is, 22 veterans a day, and it's 22 too many, right?
Yep.
It's gutting. It's gutting. And the number one thing, like I said, and there's the loss of identity and the loss of connection. But the number one thing I'm really hearing in all of that is this, like, I feel alone, right? Like I felt alone. I felt like I had no one and nothing. And I personally have undergone some life events in the past where my world was turned upside down, and I felt that way as well. And when I was in the middle of those things, I purposed in my heart, on my watch, I'm not going to let anybody feel alone. I'm not going to stand by and just let that be something that happens. I'm not just going to, turn my face away and not pay attention. I have been made aware of this problem, this widespread problem that needs a solution, and therefore I'm accountable for it. I'm really big on faith, and I believe that when we're made aware of an issue that we can definitely utilize our gifts and talents for to help in some way, shape, or form, even if it seems very small, even if it seems very minor, then we are accountable for doing that. I believe that we are supposed to do that is the very least that we can do. And so my whole purpose for doing this is to my goal, and this has been my prayer. And like I said, I'm kind of a dreamer, and some people might hear it and go, wow, lady, what are you thinking? My prayer is before I die. I'm in my 30s, so statistically I've got a good chunk of time ahead of me. Mm-hmm. Before I die, that number would be 0. It wouldn't be 22 anymore, that it'd be 0. And if I can play any part in that at all, even getting that one drop of water that sort of spreads out in this huge, just creates waves, even if I'm that, part of that one drop of water in the central Texas area that can begin to create waves and start getting people to pay attention. And again, it brings visibility. People are so visual, right? Yes. They're so visual. And you know how viral posts go. When something gets shared and someone else shares it, you see it. If it's just an article with words, right? I mean, people might read it. Chances are they're not going to, pay attention. Mm-hmm. When you begin to present photos of people, and what I love, and this might be a tangent and some kind of like a rabbit trail, but I love photography. Photography has always, I mentioned this earlier, spoken deeply to me because you can capture the human spirit. You can capture, in a beautiful way, not like a creepy way,
yes,
someone's soul, right? And when their guard is down, and when they're undone, when they're not paying attention, and when they're all, even when they feel insecure or nervous, there's something so beautiful about their spirit that shines through. And so I'm really big on, you can present these photographs. It seems so small, but if you can present the photographs along with a story, I feel like there's going to be some movement with that, even if it starts small. My prayer is that I can just be part of the solution at the very least, that I can do my part. And I believe that no matter who each of us are, what our background is, what our faith is, what our upbringing is, what gifts or talents we have or feel we don't have or whatnot, if we'll just be faithful, right, with what we have, what's already in our hands to give, if we can be faithful with that, I think we can find that it can be multiplied, right? And so much more can be done with it. So especially when we partner with other people, right? And so I hope I answered your question, but that's my whole purpose. My whole purpose is to bring awareness and to help, just to make an impact and help do what I can to see change begin to take place.
Well, that, from my perspective, that's an incredibly awesome and beautiful thing that you're doing. It really does need to be done. I mean, someone had made a comment a while back saying something like, there's over 40,000 something nonprofits out there that are, veteran-centered to help vets not be part of that statistic. Yet, even with all those nonprofits, it's still happening. And
it is.
There's got to be another way to do it. And, I mean, I love where you're going with this. This is awesome. And it's incredible. And I'm glad that I found out about it. I'm glad I found out about you and what the work you're doing. That's awesome. I really appreciate what you're doing.
I feel so grateful. In all honesty, I feel grateful. And if there's anything I could say about it is I feel grateful to each of these veterans for trusting me, because I don't take it lightly. It's a big deal. And I again, my prayer is that, that it will, even if it's small, it'll start that movement forward. Because like you said, the statistics haven't changed much despite there being so many nonprofits. I think, honestly, the key is connection.
Yes.
And again, like I mentioned earlier, building the bridges in between these different organizations, recognizing the strengths of each organization, and also identifying the weaknesses, so that we have a place for every individual situation. There's a place to turn. And so, again, this very initial project is going to hopefully kind of be maybe like a launching pad for that, like sending it out like, hey, here's all these different options and all these different people. The reason these organizations were started is because of that dark time, And if it happened for them, if there was a turnaround for them, there can be a turnaround for you.
Absolutely. Wow. So that's just got my mind going so many different ways. I definitely believe, yes, we need more, as you're calling Denny, we definitely need more bridge builders, people that can bridge that gap between not just people and organizations, but even from organization to organization, Like you said, if one group is really strong and, doing this, but the other one is better at doing that, why not get the two working together to make everybody's life better rather than, fighting for that same dollar and everything. But, so how can people find you? What social media, outlets do you want to let people know about?
Sure. Yeah. So my website for my photography company is emmillouphotography.com. And again, I'll give you the correct spelling for Emmilou. It's EMMILOU photography.com. And if you want to check out my music, that'd be cool. Apparently I'm creating some sort of brand because emmilloumusic.com. And, that's kind of just like the main place you can go. I'm on Instagram, both, my company and my music on Instagram, Facebook. I'm going to be honest. I have a Twitter account for my music, and I just don't use it.
I do not blame you. I've never been able to get into. I've never been able to get into Twitter. I've tried, and it's not happening. With all the things that I do, I'm doing good if I can keep up with 2 or 3 Facebook pages and 1 Instagram account. I'm maxed out at that point. I'm good. But it
is. It's like a full-time job in and of itself.
My God, it is. It's ridiculous. And heaven help you if you're doing really good for a couple weeks, and then something happens and you have to take a week or 2 off because you're.
Oh no, you are now a thing of the past.
Exactly.
You are now non-existent.
Exactly.
On the interwebs, you have to start from scratch.
It's insane, but. It is what it is. You've got to play the game of numbers, basically. But, so I will link up all your social media stuff in the show notes. I'll try to get it out through all my things that I have to do. But is there anything else that you want to, you've already thrown out, God, so much stuff. But is there anything else that you want to talk about? Any parting words? Anyone you want to mention? Groups? Whatever? The floor is yours.
Okay, cool. So I've already mentioned a couple of the groups. Another group I'm connected with that's really amazing is the Bluebonnet Trails. They do a lot of work with the veteran community, also civilians, but veteran community. They're very mental health oriented. And Teresa over there has been a wonderful resource. She is incredible. She is a veteran herself. One of her specialties, for anyone that may be listening, maybe you're feeling like you're hitting your head against the wall with the VA, she is able to help represent you, and help you find some breakthrough with that, and help alleviate some frustrations, help you to get any benefits that are due to you. So I really want to put that out there, because I know it's a very common thing. Parting words, I'm going to be honest. One thing that I've learned in my life is I think we all find ourselves in a dark moment at one point or another in our life. And if we don't, then obviously, wow, how fortunate. But I would say a majority of people may find themselves in a very dark spot. And maybe they feel that they're suffering, and they probably are. I know that I was in a place for a very extended period of time where I felt truly like, this is suffering. How do I ever get out of this? And so any parting words I want to say is, even when that pain is so intense, the psychological pain is so great that you're like, what point is there? This is not living. There's no point to my life. I want to encourage you to maybe just take a breath. I know it sounds maybe like crunchy or hippie, but take a breath, take a step back. Maybe choose to reframe it, because what I've learned in hindsight after some of the rough stuff I've been through, and that is for another podcast. We're not going to go down that path. It was some dark times, but I want you to know that sometimes what we see as a death sentence in our life, what we feel to be the end, is often an opportunity for rebirth, for rewriting your destiny. And it doesn't look like it at the time, and it sure doesn't feel like it, but it's worth holding on, even if it's moment to moment, breath to breath, or like day to day. It's worth holding on, and there are people and resources that you can go and find peace and support, and no judgment, And if I want to put this out there, I know that most people probably don't do this, but every life matters, and if you're finding yourself in a rough spot, reach out to me. My website has my email address. It's info@emmillouphotography.com. I can definitely put you in touch with folks that can help you. But that'll be my parting words. Life is truly worth living. I personally am like a suicide attempt survivor, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, it's worth living, and it will get better. Those dark times will not stick around, but you gotta, as hard as it is, you gotta do the work and get the help. And there is ample help. You just gotta take that first step and reach out. And I pray God blesses you.
Amen. Wow. Emily, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everything you're doing, and it's just incredible what you're doing for people. And definitely, everybody out there listening, check her out. Find her photography page, find her music page, and also if you're needing help, like she said, reach out to her. She'll connect you with people that can help. And we've got to end that 22 a day number. It's ridiculous that it's gone on for so long, and things have got to change. We got to help. And Emily, I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. We can do it together.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, everybody. There's my interview with Emily Ledoux from Emmilou Photography and Emmilou Music. So if you want to follow her, you can find her at emmillouphotography.com, emmilloumusic.com, and that is EMMILOU. And you can also find her on Instagram, Emmilou Photography and Emmilou Music. And also, if you feel that you need to reach out to her because you're in that dark space and you need to get connected with someone that can help, as she said there in the interview, reach out to her. Send her an email to her email address, info@emmillouphotography.com. emmilouphotography.com, and she will do what she can to get you pointed in the right direction. And as soon as the project she's working on is released, I'll do what I can to get a link to that for all of y'all. Also, if you decide to follow her music, again, she is releasing a new album coming out very soon. So as soon as that's out, we will also let y'all know. And I hope y'all enjoyed the interview. And just one reminder as I'm wrapping this up, this weekend, if you're in the Houston area, is the Scuttlebutt Comeback Celebration. That'll be this Sunday from, oh goodness, what was that, 2 to 8 p.m.? Give me a second. Yes. Yeah, so Sunday, September 8th, from 2 to 8 p.m. at the Veteran Retreat Center at 8730 East Mount Houston Road. That's here in Houston. Come on out, show your support for the Scuttlebutt newspaper. It will be coming out every other month. And again, it's another way to connect the veteran community. Luz puts great articles and content out there. And if you want to show her your support, you can, one, come out to the comeback celebration. And two, if you've got a business and you want to advertise it, then consider running an ad in the paper, in the Scuttlebutt. And that will help her to continue her mission to help connect the veteran community. So that's all I've got for this week. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I know I did. And I'll see y'all next time. I'm out. Thank you for listening to the Reclaimed American podcast. If you're ready to do more and be more, start by leaving us a rating and review on iTunes or Google Play. Then join our community on Facebook and Instagram at Reclaimed American, and join us over on our website at reclaimedamerican.us.